Well, hey everybody, we're back. Thank you for joining us for part 3, segment 3, going into the 4th hour of our AMC Movie Talk 24-hour marathon. And thank you so much for joining us, and all of you who have been joining us already. Want to remind you quick, first of all, my name is John Campia, AMC Movie News. Thanks for joining us, guys. And the reason we have been talking about movies for the last 3 hours and about to talk about movies for the next 21 hours is because, as many of you know, last month, the most powerful typhoon in recorded history hit the nation of the Philippines, just devastating a large chunk of the country, leaving a lot of people in a lot of need. And we thought, what can we, as a large online group of internet sweaty movie nerds, do to help the situation? And we thought, let's do a fundraiser where you and I and all of us can try to make a little bit of a difference. And so we are inviting you to join us, as I turn off my stream here, to join us and do that. We have originally... I set a goal. I thought, wouldn't it be great if we could raise $3,000 by the end of the live stream? And that's when I set it up like a couple of weeks ago. And already, we're only 3 hours in, we've already, thanks to you guys, together we've raised over $10,000. Almost $10,300 already. We want to raise more. Thank you so much for contributing. Here's how you can contribute. Go to this link you see here, www.crowdrise.com/AMC Movie News Philippines. Now, here's a very special thing. We're about to do a mailbag segment. And if you have a question you would like us to address here on the marathon, here's how you can guarantee your question will get asked. By donating, when you donate on that page, you will have the option of leaving a comment. Use that comment space to leave a question, and we will ask your question. If you donate to the cause, we will ask your question, and that is what we are going to do for the next little while. And help me out, those of you who are in the chat board right now as we wait for the other 1,000 or whatever people to come over, if people ask, how do we get a question on? Let them know in the chat board. Make a donation, leave a comment when you make a donation in the donation comment area, and we'll get your question asked. And a little bit later tonight, as we go on for another 21 hours, when we run out of questions there, then you can send us other questions or questions to our email address, which is at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Email questions there, and we'll get to your questions a little bit later in the evening. If you want it answered a little more expeditiously, hit donate, leave a comment, and we will go from there. So thank you guys for joining us. Now, somebody's saying the link is spelt wrong. AMC Movie News /Philippines. No, it's spelled right. It's spelled right. So go ahead and check that out. And go on over there. And listen, for those of you who might have missed this a little bit earlier, there are, the people of the Philippines really do appreciate this. It's a little bit dear to my heart. My wife, Ann, is a Filipino. We have a lot of family over there. But also, I played this in hour 1, but I want to play it again here, too, because it affects a lot of people. Everybody, really, even in Hollywood. And, of course, Dave Bautista, who is starring as Drax the Destroyer in the upcoming Marvel film Guardians of the Galaxy, is Filipino himself. And when he heard about what we were doing here, he sent us this to thank you guys. So I just want to play that for you now. Here, check this out.
Hey guys, I'm Dave Bautista, WWE superstar, and also starring as Drax the Destroyer in the upcoming Marvel film Guardians of the Galaxy. And more importantly, I am a proud Filipino. So I wanted to personally thank everybody for your efforts and your donations to the Philippines after the tragedy of the typhoon. So on behalf of myself and Filipinos around the world, thank you and mabuhay. Peace.
For everything that you guys are doing and the contributions that you are making already, you are making a difference. Now, with all that being said, I want to introduce the people who are joining me for the next couple of hours. And actually, Amy Rose is going to be in here in a bit, too. First of all, sitting beside me, she's AMC Movie News Entertainment Correspondent Erin Darling. Erin is here.
Hey guys, so good to see you again. Happy New Year. I'm so excited to be here for the next couple of hours in the 24-hour live stream.
And also joining us from Rotten Tomatoes, one of our favorites around here, Ms. Gray Drake.
Howdy, howdy. This is so rad. I'm so happy to be here. I love that y'all are doing this.
And I'm really, I got off the plane last night. True story. I got off the plane last night coming back from my Canadian vacation about midnight, and I opened my phone, and one of the first messages there is from Gray saying, I want in on this. How can I help? And she's given up part of her day to come down here and help us out. So here we go. Let's get to the first question that we have lined up. Zachary Tuttle donated, and thank you so much for your donation, Zachary. And Zachary wrote, Zorro the Legend needs to return. Zorro the Legend needs to return. Do you think a Zorro movie is in the works, like a sequel or a reboot? Thanks, guys, and bring on the filthy. Well, Zach, I mean, obviously there was, in Hollywood history, there's many Zorro films. Most recently, Antonio Banderas. And Anthony Hopkins.
Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Who was sexier than Antonio Banderas?
Impossible to answer. Impossible to answer.
Hopkins?
Yeah, he looked really good.
He's always sexy.
He looked really good in that movie. I mean, come on.
Everybody settle down. Settle down.
Let's be real here. Zorro is, I mean, as a mythology, Zorro is
dope.
It's a great story.
And just perfectly tailored for Hollywood.
Yeah.
To do a lot of really cool stuff with. I would be shocked if there wasn't something at least on somebody's drawing board somewhere. Have you guys heard of anything?
I haven't heard of anything. I feel like Zorro is one of those properties, though, that Hollywood has a list of things that they could always make. Like if somebody needs a project or if they get bored or they want just a layup. And Zorro seems like that kind of movie, like a dude running around carving people with his sword that deserve it, right? And then it's like it never fails, the story.
Yeah, I haven't heard of anything in the works either, but it is something that I would like to see revived eventually. I don't know who I'd want to see play Zorro, though, after Antonio Banderas. I really liked him in that role, and I think it'd be difficult right now, considering the scope, the field of the actors. I don't know who I would want to see.
What about Zorro later in life and it's Javier Bardem?
Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
Anybody?
Why not Javier Bardem?
I like that.
Javier Bardem's a great name for something like that.
Right?
I like that.
I would want to watch him put his sword into anything.
Sword.
I mean,
you guys know what we're talking about.
It's one of those things where, I mean, you have several options where you go Zorro. I mean, okay, the classic thing of Zorro wasn't so average of a man. He was a very wealthy man, but still just a man who is tired of seeing injustice and wants to rise up to support and save his people. That's a mythology you can do a lot with. And you can, like, bringing up Bardem, there's a lot you could do with a Zorro as far as you could do a young Zorro starting out. Sure, you can do an origin story. Or you can do a dude has been doing it for a long time kind of thing.
He's basically like Batman without the R&D department.
He really is, right?
Yeah.
I'd totally watch that movie. I'd watch it in a second. In fact, like everybody watching, let's make it happen.
We have enough people watching. Let's get a new Zorro movie made.
I can't get over I was just thinking the other day that we're just over a year past Skyfall. And Javier Bardem was so good in it, and it was so hot, and he brought so much to that role that I almost felt was maybe a little bit underwritten.
Move your microphone over towards me a bit. There you go.
I almost feel like it was underwritten a tad, that role. And then
it really was. One of the biggest sins of that movie, actually.
He brought so much into it that was so unexpected, especially for a Bond movie. And I didn't see The Counselor. Did y'all see that?
I haven't seen it, but I haven't heard that many good reviews about it.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Cameron Diaz making love to a car windshield. That's all I know.
Who hasn't done that? I mean...
I did it twice this morning.
The internet wants pictures, Aaron.
All right, let's move on to the next one. And again, Zachary, thank you so much for your donation. The next question comes in from Connor Quinn. And Connor, who made a donation to the cause as well. Thank you so much for your donation, Connor. And Connor writes, a question for AMC. Hey, guys, love the show, and congratulations on breaking your initial goal for the campaign. Thank you so much. Now on to the question. Since Green Lantern failed at the box office and critically, and let's face it, there's virtually no chance of Ryan Reynolds will be back in the DC Cinematic Universe. Do you think that we'll ever see another solo Green Lantern movie? If not, I was thinking they could introduce Hal Jordan in a Justice League movie and have a Barry Allen / Hal Jordan team-up movie since they're good friends in the comic books. Now, for those of you who don't know, Barry Allen is the Flash. Since they're such good friends in the comics. Does this sound like a good idea to you? My personal choice for Hal, who actually lost the role to Ryan Reynolds, would be Bradley Cooper. Well, okay, so here's the thing. And we've gotten a lot of Green Lantern questions over the past few months.
Because Green Lantern would be a great movie.
It can be.
It wasn't.
No.
Hypothetically.
Now, I'm going to say this, though. As disappointed as I was in the film, and I was very disappointed in the Green Lantern, I, at the same time, thought there were some redeeming qualities about it that I didn't walk out saying, that's one of the biggest pieces of garbage I ever saw. Was it disappointing? Yes. Was it poor? Yes. But I don't think it was the ultimate train wreck that a lot of people made it out to be. And I've said this before, and I stand by this. There are many problems with the Green Lantern film that Ryan Reynolds was in. Many problems with it. Ryan Reynolds was not one of the problems.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
I get so angry when people write off Ryan Reynolds because of the movie. The movie bombing and not doing well and the problems associated with it were not all his fault. He's a very talented actor. I don't think there's a lot of people in Hollywood that can do what he does as well as he does it. He's hilarious. He can be extremely physical in his roles. He's Deadpool. You guys, Deadpool is going to happen. It's going to happen. But I don't think that what happened with that movie excludes him from the possibility of being involved in the DC Cinematic Universe. I think it'd be ridiculous.
It was a terrible script.
It was a terrible script, and he's perfect for that role. He's perfect as that, like, cocksure guy that turns into this. I mean, he's fantastic at it. The problem was in the script that where the Green Lantern has the ability to do anything. It's all imagination. And instead, they just showed up with, like, we're going to make a giant hammer.
Which
So lame.
In concept sounds like it would be like if you could do anything and just, it's all powered by his will. And I get that. But one of the things that Reynolds did really well, I thought, and that you had to capture in a Green Lantern film was he went from that kind of wilder guy to gradually you have to see the weight of the responsibility that he realizes he has grow on him.
Just like every great superhero movie almost. Like
Yes.
Iron Man,
So
same
true.
thing. I think that they both were neck and neck that way. I don't know that Ryan Reynolds is as good an actor as Robert Downey Jr., but he's good. He's always been good. That's the thing. He gets stuck in these crap movies.
Yeah,
he
he's
has
had some
the
bad luck.
worst track record. It's a shame.
But I mean, he's also had some that he's hit out of the park. Like I thought The Proposal was a very funny movie.
I liked that movie a lot.
And it's not just because
I
Sandra
really
Bullock was a
did.
Canadian character who was in the States and getting married to an American. You know, it was
Totally
all that.
uptight.
Totally uptight.
Couldn't relax.
Betty White.
Betty White was
Amazing.
hilarious. I absolutely adore Definitely Maybe. I thought that movie was
is a good
just
movie.
wonderful. His performance in Buried, I thought, and I will still argue, not one, but I will make an argument that he should have been nominated for an Academy Award for that. The whole movie, for those who don't know Buried, the whole movie, no other characters, no outside shots. It's all him in a box.
Yep.
The entire movie.
Yep.
You're going to do that. You better have an actor who can carry an audience for that long.
Yeah, I mean it's 127 hours. It's one guy with his arm trapped in a rock kind of deal. And when you have a role like that, it's super hard to pull off. And he was so good in it that just cemented my fandom forever.
Yeah.
Oh, plus there was one time at Comic-Con where we were watching the trailer for Green Lantern, like before it had come out, and there are these two people standing next to me in the pit, like where all the press are, and I hear somebody go, "Oh my God, that looks dope!" And I was like, "Shut up, buddy!" And I look over, and it's Ryan Reynolds, and he'd never seen it before.
That's amazing. I love that story.
And he was only a hair less excited than Blake Lively was to see the Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows trailer. See, so the best thing that came from that movie is those two getting together. Then, I mean, at least we have that.
They are going to make
thankful for.
beautiful babies that will someday control the world.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt.
Well, so let's get Green Lantern back into the mix. I don't think that he's out of the mix at all.
I also don't look. If I had to put money on it, do I think Ryan Reynolds will be back to reprise the role of Hal Jordan / Green Lantern? I wouldn't put money on it, but I agree with you, Greg. I do not think his name is out of the list. I don't think they have got to that point where they've, shut that possibility out. Once again, there were many problems with the Green Lantern movie, yes, but was Ryan Reynolds the problem? No. Okay, so on to the other part of the question. Could I see somebody like who was he asking with? Not Barry personal sense, Bradley Cooper. Well, Bradley Cooper is the type he's a good actor, and so you could mention Bradley Cooper's name for just about anything or anybody, and you can find a way to see it as a fit in a way. Is Bradley Cooper a better actor than Ryan Reynolds?
Overall, I would say he is.
Maybe
He's getting better with
maybe.
every performance I see him in.
He is, and I've been riding the Ryan Reynolds, the Bradley Cooper fan train ever since he was on Alias, way back when he even knew his name. I love this guy. But I still think, even though I would give the slight edge acting-wise to Bradley Cooper, because I love him, I still would give the edge to a Ryan Reynolds because I think he's a better fit. I think he's a great fit for Hal Jordan. I really do. And I think a lot of movie fans make the mistake that when a movie's bad, we just assume that anybody's in it is bad. Or when a movie's great, anybody that's in it is great. And that's not necessarily the case. And I think that's the case with Ryan Reynolds here.
Well, garbage in, garbage out. And if you start with a lousy script, no actor, not even the best actor, whoever we consider to be the utmost in acting is going to be able to pull it off in a good way. It just isn't going to happen.
True, and I do think there are two big things that are going to happen next year. We're either going to get news about Deadpool or X-Force. Ryan Reynolds would probably be involved in both of those projects, either or, whichever one ends up happening first.
He's been spearheading them. He's been spearheading the efforts.
He has, and I really don't think that we'll see him reprise a role of Hal Jordan, considering how it went the first time. But I don't think, even if those other two projects completely fell through and went by the wayside, I don't think we should exclude him from conversations about being back in the DC universe.
All right. Thank you so much for the question. Who was it that asked that? It was Connor who asked that question. And thank you so much, Connor, for your donation to the cause. It's really appreciated. The next question comes into Feyuzi Izudin. And once I am the worst person in the world for pronouncing names that aren't really Canadian. So forgive me if I'm butchering your name, Fauzi. But Fauzi donated to the cause. Thank you so much for your donation, Fauzi. And he writes, "Hey, AMC Movie Talk, I really love the soundtrack of Man of Steel. And so, do you think that the Man of Steel soundtrack will at least get an Oscar nomination? Also, which soundtrack do you think should win at the Oscars? Thank you and keep up the great work." I love the soundtrack of Man of Steel. We just did our top. I know you guys don't necessarily agree, but we just did our top 20 films of 2013. The last segment,
Mm-hmm.
I put Man of Steel at number 3.
Wow!
I really did.
Bold move.
Wow.
I put it just behind 12 Years a Slave at number 1 and the Desolation of Smaug at number 2. And then Man of Steel number 3. Yes.
Really? Smaug at the number 2 film of the year?
Really did. I've seen the film 4 times already.
Really?
I'm gonna see.
You like dragons that much?
I love dragons.
It was good, but number 2?
Actually, I love dragons so much, guys. Watch for my upcoming novel, The Pride, all about dragons. I'll give you more information on that later. But anyway,
you're not kidding. You really wrote a novel about dragons.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
It's almost done. It's getting there. It's just about finished. I got some revisions to do. But anyway,
and then Benedict Cumberbatch is going to do the motion capture like this.
Yes,
he's all down for it.
please.
He's all down for it. But getting back to the question about the soundtrack, I did love the soundtrack for Man of Steel. I believe an initial list. I could be wrong about this, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong. I wish Chris Tapley was here from HitFix, because he would know this. He knows all the award stuff. But I believe they've already put out like a preliminary list of Oscar contenders for best, not the final nominees.
Like
but
a short list.
Yeah, but a short list. And I don't think Man of Steel was on it. And
Who
it is
did
a really
that
good soundtrack.
I can't
I believe
remember.
it was Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, I feel like it was one of the big ones.
Yeah.
Always fantastic.
And it is a very powerful soundtrack. It's a great soundtrack. But as much as I love Man of Steel, it's not like the soundtrack. It's not like the original Lord of the Rings soundtrack, which haunted me. Like that I could just listen to any piece of music and know exactly where in the film that happened, and it re-evokes all the emotions from that scene. It's not like the Man of Steel soundtrack did that for me, so I'm not going to complain if it's not on the final list. And to be honest, I can't think of a lot of soundtracks this year that really jump out at me off the top of my head. What about you guys? What do you think?
I'm not a soundtrack person. I don't have a good I can't tell one from the other very well. That's not my thing. I definitely respond less to scores and more to soundtracks like something like American Hustle.
Right.
Yeah.
That I felt I could just listen to it over and over and over again. It's such a great collection of like off the beaten path tracks. That and that whole movie evoked the 70s so much for me without being too kitschy. That's the kind of stuff that sticks in my brain more.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I mean, I love Boogie Nights, so when I'm thinking of like a soundtrack, I think of a Boogie Nights kind of thing, or Requiem for a Dream, which was amazing. And I can stop thinking about that for weeks on end after I saw that film. But for me, Man of Steel really did work for me. It's one of the few soundtracks that I remember how I felt. And when I saw it, it was at a screening that was kind of weird because there were technical difficulties. And so there was a break, an hour break, basically separating this film, which was kind of a strange thing because when you don't watch it in its entirety, it's a little bit of a different experience. But regardless, I still remember certain moments of that film and thinking, wow, this is powerful. So I really, really did enjoy that score a lot.
Okay, this brings up a thing. I get in trouble for saying this a lot, but I'm going to say it because it's the truth. And even though it's not popular to say, it's still the truth. The one, I've made this argument for a long, long time, if there's any category that needs to be removed from the Oscars, there should not be an Academy Award for this category, is Best Song.
Best Song. It's the worst. Worst.
Because here's a great
Worst.
example. A song, and remember, I'm not dissing soundtracks like the one you were just talking about, like, because collectively they can play a big part in a film, right? But let's look at two of the front runners, I think, for Best Song at the Oscars this year, and I love them both. There is "Let It Go" from Frozen. Just, oh God, I love that song.
It's so good.
It's so
so good.
And "I See Fire" from The Hobbit: The Desolation of Smaug, right?
Which is also lovely.
Which is a great
Really
that song. I love that song. Now, in the case of "I See Fire," it's a great song. It plays over the end credits. Tell me how different the Hobbit movie is if you played a different song.
It's not a musical.
Most meaningful end credits I've ever seen.
You know what? The best end credit song I've ever heard was actually Annie Lennox's "Into the West" for Lord of the Rings: Return of the King.
Oh,
right, amazing,
Yeah.
And it sticks with me and haunts me and all that kind of stuff. But really, it didn't make the movie. A lot of people pointed me with John, what's her name, who sang "Skyfall."
Adele.
Adele saying, "So it's a great song." Yes, but it played over the opening credits. It didn't shape the movie. It only played for 90 seconds.
You're not even bringing up the point that those songs. It is just a popularity contest.
Yeah.
Like the song has no correlation. It's horrible. It's such an awful category. And the fact that they have it and now they've crammed all the songs together and it's just terrible.
You know what was another really great one? And this was a great song, and it won the Academy Award for Best Song a few years ago when Jon Stewart was hosting the Oscars. It was that duet from the movie. One, thank you. But
you're not going to say anything bad about that song, are you?
No, the song is beautiful.
What was the duet?
I
don't remember this.
Falling Slowly.
Falling Slowly, that's it.
Oh, that was an amazing song.
And it was a great moment at the Oscars, too, because they had such short time for acceptance speeches. And
Yeah.
the guy gave his speech, and then they played off the girl before she could. And Jon Stewart was like, "Screw this, come back out here." And she
Isn't
came
that
back.
great?
That was such a great moment.
That was easily one of my favorite moments in the Academy Awards because it was so real.
Yeah.
It was so unproduced. And I think that's one of the problems that show has. It just doesn't reach people. It's so scripted. There's no room for fun. At least at the Golden Globes, everybody's drunk.
See, I've said this all the time. Golden Globes
At least.
are the most... The biggest joke in the award season is the Golden Globes. They're
Right.
a total joke. They have
Yes.
no legitimacy compared
That's
to the
why
Oscars.
the award ceremony is
Right.
the best.
But as a show and as ceremonies go, the Golden Globes have it all over the Oscars. The Oscars are the only ones that I think that count. But if I had to choose between watching the Golden Globes and the Oscars, I'm watching the Golden Globes because, I'll be more interested in reading the next morning about who won the Oscar.
Right.
Doesn't matter who won the Golden Globes because they're a joke. But the show is so good.
And the hosts are so good. Who doesn't love Tina Fey and Amy Poehler?
Oh, they brought them back. That's such a good movie.
For
I
this year
love
and
how-
next year.
I know, that's amazing.
And what did the Oscars do? They brought back the worst host they've ever had. No disrespect to Ellen DeGeneres, who is a very funny comedian. She's very, very good. I think she's a very entertaining lady. But I've never seen a worse Academy Awards than when she hosted. I thought it was just
I don't
terrible.
know. You
What
think that-
about James Franco?
Yeah,
Anne
that's what
Hathaway.
I-
That was
yeah.
so
But
awkward.
that is so
Hard to
epically
watch.
bad that it holds a very special place.
What?
That
It was so bad it was good. Is that
was
what you're
such
saying,
a
John?
glorious train wreck. That was such a train wreck. That, oh my gosh, it was just... Anyway,
What about 1989 when it was hosted by Donald
Letterman?
Duck? Donald Duck was a host.
What?
Yes.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Or was he like
Google
a
it.
presenter once?
I'm pretty sure
He was
that
not the
an
host.
animated award. It was kind of not really, but look it up.
And maybe he might have been a presenter. They might, because they've brought out animated characters to be presenters. But in '89, the host would have either been David Letterman or Billy Crystal. Would have been the host that entire era.
Ain't no way Billy Crystal sharing the stage with a duck.
No. Okay. I've
Look
told
it
this
up,
story
chat
before.
room. Look it up.
Yeah,
I told the
tell
story
us.
before. There was a stretch there where Billy Crystal hosted like 7 years in a row, something
Yeah.
like that. And then the 1 year Steve Martin hosted, and I've told the story before. And how we're talking about the Oscars when you were asking us about
Well, we talked about best
scores.
song and scores.
But my favorite all-time Oscar moment, and one of the funniest jokes, and it's not going to be nearly as funny when I tell it, but Steve Martin's hosting, and he's doing his opening monologue. And he says, and it was like the first year in years that Billy Crystal hadn't done it. And he says, hosting the Oscars is a lot like making love to a beautiful woman. I only get to do it when Billy Crystal's out of town. To me, one of my all-time favorite moments at the Oscars. That joke killed it for me. I'd love to see Steve Martin host it again sometime, actually.
He's a gem.
He is a gem. All right, we got to get on to the next question. Thank you so much, Fauzi, for your question. I'm going to do one more question. Then Amy Rose is going to come and fill in for me. I'm going to tag her in. I'm going to step out.
Then we're going to have a pillow fight.
It's all girl pillow fight. Ika writes, hi guys, love what you were doing with the fundraiser. Thanks so much, Ika. And Ika donated. I have friends from the Philippines, and I was glad to do what I could do. I might as well use this time to ask a question. John, you have mentioned how you hated Ellen. Here we go, as a matter of fact. Oh. You have mentioned how you hated Ellen hosting the Oscars. Just for fun, who do you guys think were the best and worst hosts in the past history? And who would make a good host in the future? Well, we mentioned the Franco and
Franco Hathaway was pretty horrific.
It was pretty bad.
Was he or was he not high? Did he ever admit to being high?
You know, did you guys see the roast of James Franco?
Yes, which was amazing, which was so fantastic. Funny.
But from what all the stuff I'm infer from all the stuff, I think he was probably quite high.
I would get high too, hosting the Oscars.
Yeah, but if you're gonna get high on the Oscars and you're hosting this event, why wouldn't he share it with his co-host? They were not on the same page.
No,
she was up here, and he was like, "What up?"
No, she was like trying to
theoretically, that formula on paper should be really good.
I was excited when I heard the pairing.
I love the idea.
It was a great idea.
Yeah,
the idea of bringing some sex appeal, some youth back to the Oscars. It is Hollywood's biggest night, but admittedly the most boring at the same time. And in theory, it seems like a great idea.
He's high together.
If they promote it that way, I think a lot more people would have been interested.
Hey guys, before I tag in Amy Rose here, I'm going to remind you again the whole purpose that we're doing this show. Head on over to www.crowdrise.com/AMC Movie News Philippines. Click the donate now button. Leave a donation. The whole reason we're doing this 24-hour marathon is to raise money for the people in the Philippines who are having such a devastatingly hard time as a result of the typhoon that hit there. This is a chance for us movie nerds who do nothing but squawk and bitch and moan and complain to actually do something good while we're squawking and bitching and moaning and complaining. It's the best of both worlds. So listen, the next 24 hours, as the last 4 hours have been, pretty informal. I am going to go and rest my throat. I'm going to try to go the whole 24 hours. So I'm going to go rest my throat for about 15 or 20 minutes. Amy Rose is going to come in here, and I'm going to tag her in here. So come on, swing on over here, Amy Rose. She's going to fill in for me.
Yay.
I'm going to point out where we left off.
Bye, John.
Tag her in.
She's in. So we just left off here. This isn't really a question, so I guess we're going to start on Abhijit. And you remember the buttons there?
Oh, yeah.
Scream at me if you have any problems.
Okay.
Oh, and I'm going to adjust this.
Greetings and salutations.
You're a hobbit, so I'm going to lower the camera.
You know what?
All you're missing are the furry
with less
feet.
hairy feet.
You know what? All right, my friends. Lovely to be back. Hi, pretty ladies.
Hello. Welcome, Amy Rose.
Pillow fight.
Woo! Stop
Okay.
me, Aaron.
Tony D. Hey, crew. Great idea and great work. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. I've been watching since the summer, and it's a daily programming for me. I look forward to the new content. Quick question. Where is my Robotech? After watching Ender's Game, I couldn't help but get excited about seeing Robotech's epic space battles. Thoughts, my ladies?
I did not have the fortune of seeing Ender's Game this year, so I am not sure what exactly he's referring to.
Yeah, what does the question mean? What's Robotech? Is that a thing, or does he want robots to be on his body so he can float through space?
I'm going to go with that one.
Well, that sounds awesome.
Ender's Game had a lot of dope stuff in it. How about the answer to that question being that the government has it, but is surely suppressing it, just so we cannot have fun?
Yeah, let's talk about Ender's Game. Did you see it?
I have not, no.
So you saw it.
Yep.
What were your general impressions?
I liked that movie. I thought that Asa Butterfield was awesome.
He's amazing.
And Harrison Ford has had a hell of a year. He's really been in a lot. And, well, with the exception of Paranoia, oops, sorry, Harrison, that wasn't good. But 42, you guys were talking about earlier, and then this one, he's really making it work. You know, like he's not just a parody of himself. That's what I really like, is that he's still actually acting. Because Robert De Niro, as much as I liked Las Vegas like John did, I get disturbed because if it's not Silver Linings Playbook, it's like he's making fun of what he's built his career on, and he's so much better than that.
Which is a pattern that's kind of emerging these days that we see with a lot of older actors that are kind of, they're still working, they still have a career, but their career is almost like, isn't this so funny that we're doing this? Kind of weird. I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, like even James Gandolfini, the late great James Gandolfini he wouldn't do that. Even if he was in something that it was that Brad Pitt movie, like Killing Them Softly this year. Yeah. So he was kind of a gangster. He wasn't by any means making fun of his previous roles. No. But then he shows up in Enough Said, one of the most moving performances of the year, hands down. And is actually acting, and that's what's great. And Harrison Ford has had a really good year because of that choice.
I agree. All right, let's move on.
Sorry, I wish I knew more about Robotech. Wouldn't it be great if that was an animated show? That would be a really good show.
Robotech, Reboot, which is one of my favorite animated shows.
All right. This one comes from Travis Smith. Greetings and salutations, sons of AMC and daughters. Heyo. I delightfully enjoy the show, and besides the fact that you are all darn right entertaining, you inspire me in the fantasy novel series I've been writing for the past 7 years, which I hope someday you will discuss if it ever becomes a movie. Absolutely. I am a huge film when it becomes a movie. I am a huge film fan as well as a comic book fan, so my question is an ultimate question. Here we go. Do you think we will ever see a Marvel DC crossover on the big screen like in the comics? I would imagine it would mean big money for all of the involving studios. If so, when can we see it happen? And when would you say it is necessary for it to happen? Love the show. Keep it coming, guys. All right. I will start this one off.
Because we've talked about this before.
We've talked about this a lot.
Because everybody wants to know this question.
Because everyone wants to know this question. Bottom line... film rights are so complicated. Look what's happening just in the Marvel family with all the Marvel film rights that are at various studios. It's very, very difficult for everyone to hug it out and work together. So it's very complicated. Is that the dream of all of us? Because I'm not just a Marvel or DC fan, but I actually love both properties. So I believe we can coexist. And I think that would be the ultimate dream. But
go back to your land of hippies filled with grass and lollipops and unicorns running
and comic books too.
Which side are you on then?
No, I'm just saying. No, I'm just saying that's absolutely right. It's never going to happen. Never going to happen.
I want to see a big Marvel. I mean, I've said before I want to see Civil War.
Marvel Civil War would be epic.
After they've exhausted all of their possible ideas and they just want to make one movie where everyone just dies, Civil War it.
Then just do what DC does and bring everybody back.
I mean, it's...
afterwards.
Or just reboot everything.
Yeah. This awesome movie never happened. There isn't any motivation for Marvel to do this, specifically when their movies are going so well and DC's are going so badly. There's no reason. There's absolutely no benefit to them because the next Avengers is going to make a ton of money. I already have bought a ticket. Basically.
Let's not discredit, a little trilogy, The Dark Knight. That was pretty successful and pretty fantastic. Man of Steel. I mean, I feel like they are finally stepping up their game. But as a whole, in terms of the slate, Marvel's been owning it.
Well, even Marvel's lesser films, I could still say, that was a movie. That was fine. Yeah. Whereas DC is, so up and down that they don't average out to nearly what Marvel has
Not
gotten.
only that, but I think their next movie is going to be an absolute hot mess. But that will probably be coming up within the next hour in a question. But I'm almost very positive that Batman vs. Superman is going to be a nightmare.
I don't share your sentiments. I have hope because Man of Steel was great. And as long as they don't make it a Justice League film,
Which is where it's going. All
right, let's reel it in. Next question. This one comes from Ali Bittles. Hey guys, such a wonderful thing you are doing here and keep up the great work. My question is, when was the last time that you had a true emotional reaction to a movie? Good question.
It's a great question.
Last night I watched 12 Years a Slave and by the end I was crying for 10 straight minutes and my mother actually had to come in and make sure I was okay. I was just curious if you guys ever had a reaction like that. Keep up the great work and I'll try to watch along for the 24 hours. That is devotion. We love you. You want to start on this?
Absolutely. Lone Survivor. I saw Lone Survivor and I especially watching. So Lone Survivor is the Mark Wahlberg movie that is coming out it's coming out in wide release like January 10th, but it's in limited release right now. And it's about, real life characters. Have y'all seen it yet?
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. Real life characters, whose mission goes terribly wrong, and they end up having to fight the entire Taliban by themselves, basically. And true story, with one survivor left that wrote about it and has been doing a lot of press for the film. And so the movie itself, so imagine the first 15 minutes of Saving Private Ryan for an entire film.
Wow.
That
And
sounds
that's what this movie is.
stressful.
It is.
Emotionally
it really is.
stressful.
Well, and watching it made me, because I was sitting there going like, oh my God, could I really recommend that people see this movie because it's so upsetting? But then I thought, like, these men in real life didn't get to go home.
Yeah.
They didn't get to, they didn't get to quit. They didn't get to turn off the VCR if they got a screener of a movie. It's not like that. And they knew that when they were on this mountain and they were fighting for their lives, and they probably weren't ever going to see their families again. And so the end of the movie, it blew my mind. And they showed the pictures of the real life people. I'm bawling I put my sunglasses on, like, because here in Los Angeles, when you see a media screening, the publicist is there, and usually they want to know immediately what you thought of the film.
They'll hunt you down.
And I put on my sunglasses and just bolted. And I was like, I can't talk to anybody. I can't. And I just sat in my car because it was such a moving film. And it's one of the only military films I've ever seen that really helped me understand the sacrifices that they make for us, and especially kind of in a modern way, because Saving Private Ryan is the sentiment obviously is still the same, but it was old. It's about an older war. So
It's one of those films that I feel like I've needed to be ready for, much like 12 Years a Slave. You
Right.
know what you're in for. And
Yeah.
I mean, on the subject of 12 Years a Slave, Steve McQueen evokes so much emotion in me. Like, every single time, I'm just completely captivated by whatever is on the screen. And I felt the same way after coming out of that one. I was paralyzed after.
Yeah.
I was sitting there. There was and I don't want to ruin it for people who haven't seen it, but there's one scene with Patsy that pretty much started my downfall before, when I was just a blubbering mess. And I should have known, what I was in for. I didn't even bring Kleenex. What an amateur move. But I was definitely a blubbering mess. And then afterwards, it was a press screening, like you're saying. I was just standing out there with a couple other, journalist homies, and I was just like, I don't want to talk. I want to just sit with what I'm feeling. I got in my car, I turned off my music, which is a big thing for me. I just wanted to sit in the silence of just true art and pain and everything. And historical films really do that for me, much like you were saying with The Lone Survivor, especially that, the actual guy who was part of it helped, bring this film to the big screen. And those are the kind of things that really impact me and make me realize how lucky I do have it here in my little sheltered world,
Right.
Yeah.
What was the last film that did that for you?
I actually had that same reaction for 12 Years a Slave because I went to a very, very, very early screening and didn't really know much of what I was going to see. I knew what it was about, but I wasn't sure exactly what I was in for at the time. And I walked away from that movie feeling overwhelmed emotionally. I just felt incredibly almost embarrassed and ashamed that this is a part of our culture. This is a story that actually happened in history that is not ever really told the way that it was told in this movie.
Shocking.
And it was shocking. And I really felt like I was able to feel, I don't know, I felt a lot different than any other movie that I've seen that has been about slavery or that period of time in our history. And I couldn't stop thinking about it for days after. I also recently saw a movie, actually after 12 Years a Slave, which you guys can see on Netflix right now. It's a documentary called Dear Zachary. Have you guys seen this movie?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it, though.
Was a movie I watched the day before Thanksgiving, and it was hard.
Great timing.
I know. It was hard for me to get into the Christmas spirit, the holiday spirit after that, because that is a completely emotional experience if you want to become mad at our judicial system and Canada's judicial system. And, it's pretty crazy if you want to watch something that's very thought-provoking.
A warm, fuzzy movie that I saw this year that I left crying, but like wanting to snuggle real bad. was about time.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
With Rachel McAdams and
I love
Bill
that
Nye,
movie.
and it was so good, and I loved it. And it's directed by Richard Curtis,
he's just the most
who did
snuggly
Love
man ever.
Actually, and he wrote Notting Hill, and
Yeah.
oh god, I love it.
I agree. I feel like that was really hit or miss for some people, and it hit me hard because like it brings up so many themes that we can all relate to about love and life and like wanting to say goodbye to people that you didn't have the opportunity to, and it's a good one. Richard Curtis really knows good characters. I love him. All right, let's keep it up. Okay, well, we knew this question was coming. Greg Hosker. With DC now creating a cinematic universe, I feel they missed the boat and should have used Batman Begins and The Dark Knight to launch this. I think it would have been fascinating to see Superman in this world with Bruce Wayne discovering aliens along with the rest of the world. What do you guys think? Thanks, keep up the great work from the UK.
Yay, UK.
All right. I mean, I just loved Nolan's trilogy so much that it's hard for me to want to share the space with another gigantic hero like Superman. I really loved Man of Steel, I really did, but I do kind of prefer, and it might be because Batman is my favorite, so I'm a little biased, but I love Gotham, and I love everything that he created, and I just think that, you know, the introduction of the villains that he did bring in, and everything was just really great as it was as a standalone trilogy, but they have to do it somehow. I mean, Batman has proven to be their bread and butter property right now, and so of course they're going to throw him back in here, but I do think Man of Steel will be great because I hope that Batman is kind of a smaller figure. I still want this to be Superman's film. I still really want it to be. I think Henry Cavill is a fantastic Superman, and I'm glad that they didn't use it to introduce everything else, because I think that's one of my favorite trilogies of all time. It stands very strong on my list, very high on my list. But I'm okay with the way they're doing it as long as they don't make this a pretend Justice League Origins film and actually keep it a Superman film with the introduction of Batman. What do you guys think?
That's actually my biggest fear that you just articulated right there with that movie. And the reason why I think it's probably going to be a mess is because I really want a Man of Steel sequel. I loved Man of Steel. I thought it was fantastic. I love Henry Cavill. I love the way that it was shot. I thought it was an amazing film. But I'm so worried that we're going to get just all these characters thrown into the next installment because they missed that opportunity to introduce the other characters with Christopher Nolan's trilogy, which again, I thought was amazing. And I would love to be, you know, a standalone part of the DC universe. But I think that now they need to introduce Batman again. And along with that comes a lot of other characters in Justice League. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. I think that it could have been a great opportunity to kind of open up the world a little bit using that Christopher Nolan trilogy to kind of let us know what's going on there. And there's not just Batman there.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
They want their Avengers.
Yeah, they do.
So I can't imagine a different Batman from the one that we've already seen because it left such an impression on me as well. And I'm glad that it was dealing with more terrestrial villains and keeping it as real and gritty as it did. Yeah. So I feel like that's so uncreative of me to say, like, well, I like what I saw, and that there couldn't have been another way to do it. Certainly there could have been. You know, I mean, this could be the route that they would have taken to first have Batman, like, all of a sudden, like, we are not alone. We are not alone. You know, that with the voice. But anyway, the world's worst Batman impression.
No, it's good.
But I think that DC is lobbying so hard. Well, DC needs to catch up so much to what Marvel has already done and to start to make any kind of money at all whatsoever, because 4 good movies does not equal what Marvel has done. Even Marvel's worst movie is pretty good. So, and the thing about Marvel is they have leadership, they have vision. The people at the head of that place have taken them on this really solid path, and DC needs that. Yeah. So I have a feeling that your cautious optimism is going to be crushed.
No.
Me too.
No.
I'm sorry,
I
Amy
hope
Rose.
I'm wrong.
You guys agree with me, right? This is going to be a good film. I just believe in the players behind it. I mean, yes, DC needs a Kevin Feige. They do. I mean, he is the mastermind behind all things Marvel, and he's just proven that he's just so amazing at it. And I mean, the thing that I love so much about the Marvel films is that it does deal with a lot of fantastical elements, but still makes them feel very grounded. And this Green Rage monster, yes, I believe it. You know, like there's so many elements that I love so much. So I really do still have faith because the first film was so solid. And I think that nothing's been officially confirmed yet about like what players are going to be in, except for the fact that Wonder Woman, obviously, and Batman. But other than that, everything else.
Underwear model.
Oh, I mean,
should we talk about that?
Nobody knew about Chris Hemsworth before he was Thor. So
We're gonna talk. We're gonna talk about Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Oh, we will.
That's scared.
It's coming,
the crap
guys.
out
It's
of me.
coming.
oh, John. Anywho, yeah.
Ooh, so exciting.
We can keep going about this, but let's go. All right. Bedford McCrae writes, Ratchet and Clank 2015. Thoughts? I
What?
don't know why my voice
The
came
what?
out.
The what and the
Ratchet
what?
Clank.
Ratchet and Clank.
Ratchet and Clank. It feels right to do that in a Sean Connery voice, so I'm just going to go with my bad self. What
So
do you
this is a
think?
property that was rumored. I'm not sure if there have been. I don't
There
think
has
there's
been
been anything that's
movement.
been confirming it. Yes or no? It's a video game, and I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. I don't know if we'll see it in 2015 or not.
No, we won't see it in 2015
It's a
if we haven't
packed
heard
year.
about it, right? We
Yeah.
have to hear about
Yeah,
these
I
things now.
have been seeing development on it, but I don't know how far along it is. But yeah, I personally never played or read much on it, so I don't.
Yeah, me
have,
either. I
yeah.
mean, if they don't, my guess is that if they haven't made a big announcement as to who's attached, then we're not going to see it in 2015.
yeah,
Maybe we'll see it announced in 2015.
because World of Warcraft was like kind of
Yeah.
dancing around forever, and now we
Right.
actually have a roster, an amazing roster. You add Ben Foster to anything, and I'm in. So
That's what it takes.
I don't think it will happen in 2015, but I do think it's going to happen because I do think the fan base is there. All right, Adam Schaefer writes, Hey guys, love the show. Hope your marathon is great. So far, so good. Thank you. So I recently read Age of Ultron. There are a lot of spoilers in this question, so you've been warned. You've been warned. In Age of Ultron, it seems as if the main theme is time travel. I'm hoping they jump us right into the aftermath of Ultron's destruction. The main character who follows Wolverine and Sue Storm, who obviously won't be in the film. Do you think that Marvel will go the route of going back in time to change the traumatic apocalyptic world of Ultron? I think they're going to stomp on Fox for being so bad with timelines and just show that they're making a much better time apocalyptic film. I think they want to buy X-Men from Fox soon. Well, the dream is always to return Marvel to Marvel. I think that's also why Scarlet Witch and
Yeah, good
Quicksilver
luck.
are in the film, but I think they will only be in the apocalyptic Ultron universe, but not after they change time travel. Thanks. Long question, Adam.
Infinity Gauntlet!
Right?
I can't wait to see what Joss Whedon does next. I have no idea, and no one will tell me. I keep asking.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard anything about what exactly the storyline is going to be either.
They don't even know. According to like talking to Kobe Smulders and stuff, they're like, "Oh no, we don't know. They won't. No one will tell us. They won't tell us what's happening."
Goddess Smulders.
Right?
She's amazing.
Smoldering.
Yeah, that's a really hard question. And
But they're
true-
gonna. I bet that we can. I think it's safe to say that they're gonna completely ignore anything that anyone has done. So it's not going to coincide with anything. It will stomp on Fox's version of the X-Men time frame, I think, for sure, because they're going forward as though nothing else exists, as they should.
Yeah.
Since they're at the top.
Yeah.
That's how you behave when you've won. And they've won.
What do you think?
I think I kind of agree with Gray here. I feel like they don't have to recognize anything that's happened in any other cinematic universe in terms of the studios and what different people own. And I'm not exactly sure what to expect in this movie, but I am expecting a lot of awesomeness coming from James Spader, who I love. And originally when this villain was announced, I was like, Ultron, that's lame, whatever. But then Spader, I thought, wow, okay, I take it back. I retract
Never
my
before
statement.
has Ultron been so sexually
Oh my
creepy.
God, I love him. His voice alone is just the most fantastic thing. Do you guys watch Blacklist?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah, right? I don't know. I actually really like the Age of Ultron story for this. And, I mean, I did love the Avengers. And you're right, Joss Whedon. He's just wonderful.
So good.
He's so good. And I do have faith in this. I do think that time travel will be incorporated. And, I mean, they've been smashing Hulk smashing Fox for years. So, because they only really have X-Men, and that's my favorite ever, so I'm not discrediting that. But when you look at all the amazing superheroes, standalones, and ensemble, like the Avengers, they kind of have it figured out. So I don't think they're going to pay attention or pay respect to anyone. I mean, look at both characters in Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. I mean, they don't care. I was about to cuss, but I held myself
They shouldn't.
back.
No, they don't have to care. They don't have to care. Well, and plus, all of these movies have established that they're going to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
I don't even understand when X-Men Days of Future Past is happening. What does Days of Future Past mean? I don't, honestly, I haven't paid attention because I've discovered that the less that I know about these films, the better off I am. I don't want to watch trailers anymore. I want to try and stay as far removed from it as possible, save for a log line. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, okay, wait, so this is after, and then the what, and then but who, and is Magneto, and what?
But if you were going to watch a trailer, that's a trailer to watch.
I know.
Because that teaser trailer was so good.
I get sent trailers by all of the awesome AMC fans, like, hey, have you seen this yet? And I'm like, oh, I love that you sent this, but I don't want to see it.
Right?
I haven't even seen the Godzilla trailer.
You haven't?
No, I don't want to see it. I already watched the teaser.
Wow.
It's too much.
Well, we differ on our opinions on that one. I loved it. Amy Rose wasn't a huge fan, though.
I don't think the narrative was clear, but I'm still very excited for the film.
I think that's okay for a trailer, though. I'm all right with that.
Good. Stand your guns, girl. All right. Blake Layton writes, hey, John, love the show. I was just wondering what will happen after Phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Will they restart it or continue, but just forget about the Avengers and move to new characters? Your thoughts? They're going to keep making these movies until the cash cow runs out, and that cow is going to keep on milking. All I'm saying. All I'm saying.
Yeah, they definitely have a database of enough characters to keep going. I mean, I don't think that Phase 3 marks the end of what they're doing right now. I think they could easily continue with tons of characters, and even the B-list characters I think would be interesting and fun.
Yeah.
And even with an Ant-Man movie coming out so soon, I think is indicative of the fact that they're willing to take risks and they're ready to try something weird and get crazy with it. And
it's Edgar Wright.
It is Edgar Wright. So I really don't think that we can expect an end if the popularity of these movies seems to change at all, which I don't think it will anytime soon.
Yeah, no, I do think there's such an armory of amazing characters, and I want to see the lesser known ones explored, and they had to do that by introducing the the big dogs, like in the Avengers, and now they're like, hey, we know what we're doing, we have a formula, we have a vision, trust us. And I really do believe in Kevin Feige's vision, so if he's still going to be the Godfather, let's play ball, baby.
The one thing that spells death for any franchise or any company is an unwillingness to change what worked before. And so if Marvel's approach had previously been to keep making the same movie over and over again because we would all go see it regardless, right? They would still be okay just for a shorter amount of time. But what they've proven is that they're going in different directions all the time. Because Edgar Wright is directing Ant-Man.
I love it
How
so much.
cool is that?
He's directing Paul Rudd in
I know.
Ant-Man.
That to me says that Marvel's willing to give a shot to talented filmmakers that have a really good vision for the property. So we could we see Kenneth Branagh directing Thor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, what?
And I loved him directing Thor.
And it's such an interesting approach, but it shows a commitment to being able to change from property to property, and that's why they're going to stay alive longer. I mean, it just occurred to me, how long is this all going to take? They're taken care of for easily the next 10 years.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe even longer.
Like our whole, I really feel like they know what they're doing in the casting department as well, which is why John poked his little head in here and said, we're going to be talking about Gal Gadot and how awful of a choice that is. And I mean, no one really knew Chris Hemsworth when he was cast as Thor, and I think he's a fantastic Thor.
Yeah,
Chris
he's
Evans,
perfect.
People knew of him, but they were just like, he's going to be Captain America? Yeah. And I was one of those people, and I loved him as that. It goes on and on and on. And I just feel like they know what they're looking for, and they have a clear vision of this, and I really do believe it. Sure, she was a lingerie model, whatever. She's a hot one at that. She wasn't so bad in the Fast and Furious franchise, and I feel like they know what they're giving for. At least she looks, as Amazonian-ish.
Wait, but isn't Wonder Woman DC?
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, with people
Oh no,
vision,
honey, DC has no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
No
I kind of
clue.
agree.
I agree. No clue. No,
And
So
I
let's
absolutely
talk-
not.
Did you not like Ben Affleck then?
I
It's hard
am.
after Christian Bale because
I
think he was amazing
am-
Batman.
I'm fine with it. I see why they picked him
Yeah.
because I think that he can do both Bruce Wayne and Batman because he's really improved as an actor.
Yeah.
And I thought Henry Cavill also a great choice. But I think, again, statistically, a few good choices doesn't make them good at what they're doing. They're not. They're not good at what they're doing. They got really lucky, I think. I think they've gotten lucky a few times, and that's it. Because whenever they make the right choice with somebody like Ryan Reynolds, they just screw the script up.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
no, absolutely not. She's not going to make a good Wonder Woman. We're going to have to fistfight on this. I'm really
I
sorry.
agree with you there,
Pro
though.
her though. I'm not.
Who
pro.
is she? Like, who is this girl? Why
Former
did we...
beauty pageant contestant who
Listen,
spent
she's a
two years in the Israeli army, and she was
Which
in
is
Fast.
hats
Awesome.
off.
Last movie.
Hats
Awesome.
off.
Hats off, good for her. But
Okay.
also, I agree with you, Gray. I don't have a lot of faith in this casting choice. I mean, there's not much to inform me that this is a good decision. I mean, just based off what I know about,
What
and
happened
her
to
acting
Jamie
ability, she's-
Alexander?
Exactly.
I know.
I mean,
Hello?
But Lady Civ, I mean, that could be kind of a difficult thing to do. I just think after Man of Steel, casting Henry Cavill, honestly, Amy Adams, I love her, but she wasn't my favorite Lois anyway. I think they kind of gave her some bad dialogue. But and General Zod was amazing. Like, I just feel like after Man of Steel, that we're giving them a little credit. Oh, look who's back. Giving them
Oh, hey.
a little credit. I'm not pro her.
Okay.
I want to be clear here. I'm not
step in the
pro.
Grace chair for
I
a
just
second.
think after Man of Steel that they deserve a little credit because they hit that one out of the
All
park.
right, you
Go
know,
ahead, John. Here we go.
Here's the thing. I was going to actually talk about this later, but since
just happened.
instead of bringing it up again, I thought I'd just step in here. Okay. Before I say anything about Gal Gadot, let me say this: we cannot discount the possibility this could work,
Yeah.
of course.
Or it could suck.
and we cannot judge it until. And there's a difference between prediction and judging. There's a big difference. Judging can't be done until after you sample it. And until the movie comes out, we cannot say definitively she will suck. We can't do that. We've done that in the past. 99% of the time, what we as movie fans think is going to suck sucks. But then sometimes, every once in a while, it doesn't suck. And we got to be open to that possibility, and it can work. Here's the analogy. You know I like to bring everything into sports analogies, but here's the analogy I give this, all right? Let's go, I don't know, pick a sport. Gray, pick a sport.
Basketball.
Okay, basketball.
Good
Let's
job, Brett.
say you're the coach of the Miami Heat, okay? You're the coach. And there's 2 seconds left in the game. You're down by 3 points. You have to take a 3-point shot. The coach draws up a play for the worst player on the team to take the shot instead of LeBron James. Is that the wrong decision? Yes. Can it work? It may still work.
May work.
He may hit the shot. But even if he hits the shot, it was still a bad choice. It was still the best choice would have been to give it to LeBron James. That's your biggest chance to succeed. Here's my problem with the Gal Gadot stuff. We'll get to the fact that she's not a trained actress. She was an underwear model. She doesn't have a background in acting. She was only put into date night because she was a hot lingerie model who could say, "You make sex with us?" Really sexy. And she was put into Fast and Furious to be eye candy, and she wasn't even good at the eye candy role that she was given to play. But what happens is, people who want to argue with me about this Gal Gadot situation, I say this was a bad cast, much like it would be a bad decision to give the worst player on the team the 3-point shot. This was a bad casting decision. That can still work. But what they will often come back to me with are 2 separate arguments. One is, well, we had never heard of Chris Hemsworth before.
Yes.
We had never heard of Henry Cavill before. True. But having heard of them is completely different from them being qualified. Look, Henry Cavill, for almost a decade, has been a highly sought after and recruited dude in Hollywood. He was almost the new James Bond. He was almost Superman
Lot of
before.
almosts.
Yeah, a lot of almost. But the casting brains in Hollywood have had their eye on Henry Cavill for almost 10 years and had pegged him years ago as a highly talented, with high star potential. He's been identified that, never given a break. But that's his background. You look at Chris Hemsworth. We talked about it earlier in the show when we talked about Star Trek. Chris Hemsworth was a dude that casting people in Hollywood have been talking about for years, just looking for the right vehicle to give to him to see if he can actually take off. But he was pegged as a guy with a lot of acting talent, huge upside, star potential. That's his background. Gal Gadot's an underwear model. That's her background. So that's the one argument that people make. Hey, well, we never heard of these guys. My argument is having heard of them is irrelevant. Were they qualified? Did they have the talent? And were they pegged as people who had talent previously? Now, the other argument that people come back to me with is often the Zack Snyder, give them the benefit of the doubt argument. That's the argument I often hear from people saying, well, I'm sure they must have seen something in the audition. Okay, but if you're going to use that argument, then you are never, ever allowed to second guess any casting decision ever made in Hollywood, because you can always say that, well, they must have seen something in the audition.
You always use the Heath Ledger thing.
Well, yes, exactly. The Heath Ledger, but once again, let's look at the background.
Yes.
When
He's a great actor.
when they were making the Dark Knight,
Yeah.
Heath Ledger was already an Academy-nominated actor.
Yeah.
He got an Academy Award nomination for Brokeback Mountain. He was almost another Academy Award. What was that other film he did? Now, he was a hit-and-miss actor, but when Heath Ledger was on, he was an Academy Award level actor.
10 Things I Hate About You.
10 Things I Hate About You, says Greg.
Let's be
Who
clear,
doesn't
though.
love it?
Let's be clear. I'm not pro.
Oh, no,
Gal
I
Gadot.
know, and I'm not talking to you. I'm saying...
being the devil's advocate
So-
because it's important to represent both sides.
Yes, absolutely. Now, so here's ultimately what it
You don't
comes
need to
down
cite
to.
me.
When people want to say, argue with me about giving Gal Gadot a chance, I'm saying, well, you shouldn't argue with me about that, because we're going to give her a chance.
We have to.
Unless we say we're going to boycott this movie, which would be stupid, we're going to be there opening day, and we're going to watch the film with an open mind and hope. Trust me, I'm a big critic of her casting as Wonder Woman. I'm a huge critic of it. But there's also nobody in this town that is hoping to be wrong more than me.
Yeah.
I hope she knocks it out of the park, because I want a good, sustainable, thriving DC cinematic universe. And for that to happen, you got to have a good Wonder Woman. But sitting here a year and a half away, removed, I'm looking at it and say, all the arguments for Gal Gadot right now are all what I call blind faith arguments. They're saying, well, let's just believe it'll happen. Whereas with a Chris Hemsworth or a Henry Cavill, there was tangible, sustainable, quantifiable proof. These guys were talented, they were pegged as talented, and they were pegged as having star potential before going into it. There's a big misconception here, too. People will often want to say, Zack Snyder has a great history of casting. He does. But you're crazy if you think Zack Snyder made this casting decision. If you think Warner Brothers, who are trying to build a DC cinematic universe with a lot of DC movies to come that Zack Snyder will not direct, put the casting decision of Wonder Woman, who's going to be a small character in Batman vs. Superman, if you think they put that whole decision on him, say whoever you pick will just run with the future, you're nuts. I think Zack Snyder had a say. I think they got his input.
I'm sure Ben Affleck had a say too.
Oh yeah, I'm
Big
sure.
say.
I'm sure they had
and
says.
I trust him as a filmmaker.
But and I trust Ben Affleck huge as a
Yeah.
filmmaker. But once again, I can't use that as a positive argument, because that's a blind faith argument. Once again,
But here's another scenario, John. If she is in the film
Right.
and absolutely sucks, there is a very high probability that they would replace her for a Justice League
they
film.
can change her.
They can.
All other
Yeah.
things being equal, as fans though, I think. Look, you know me, right? No actor is irreplaceable.
Yeah.
But all other things being equal, I think we all agree, the best case scenario is you get one actor and you stick with them if possible.
Yeah.
Of course. It's
So
less
I would
confusing.
have liked to have seen them gotten an actress that really had the potential to do really well.
Whoa. Let's be clear.
I-
She has potential. You just don't have a lot of hope.
I haven't seen the potential.
I didn't think
I
she
mean,
was that bad in Fast and
I
Furious.
thought she was pretty darn awful in Fast and the Furious
really didn't
6.
think so.
She's
I
awfully
haven't
pretty.
seen enough of her to be able to make a decision based
Exactly,
on that,
but
but
I
I think it's a
wasn't
bad
offended
business
by
move
that.
overall to put someone in that role who cannot carry a film on their own.
Okay, because ultimately that's it, right? She can't just be a
that's
good
the hope.
supporting
Yeah, this is
character.
not a one movie gig. If they
Yeah.
want to set
Let's
up
hope not. We
anything, if
need
they
a
want to
standalone
establish
Wonder Woman.
anything,
Exactly,
yeah,
and so we're
exactly.
talking- now-
She can't. I don't see her carrying a whole movie.
Here's the other thing that we're
We
not
haven't
talking
seen her
about.
Screen tests. We don't know.
But once again, another blind faith argument, right?
Without faith, we have nothing, John. We have
True. Without
nothing.
there is the faith is the substance of the things unseen. That's my old theology background for you. But here's the one thing that we're not talking about, is that it is possible that Gal Gadot could be terrible as Wonder Woman, and it can still work. If they have the right script, and because let's look at Gina Carano in Haywire. Gina Carano, who a lot of people wanted for Wonder Woman, and I said no, I didn't want her as Wonder Woman because she's not a strong enough actress yet. But the director for Haywire,
Steven Soderbergh.
Soderbergh. What Soderbergh did was he crafted the movie and her role to hide her weaknesses and accentuate her strengths. Is Gina Carano a good actress? No, she's not. Mm-hmm. But even though she wasn't a good actress, Soderbergh was able to create the role for her and create the movie in such a way and orchestrate the movie that it hid her lack of acting ability and accentuated on her strengths, her physical presence and all the stuff that she could do action-wise, keep her dialogue to a minimum. When she did have to give dialogue, don't make it dialogue that had to be infused with a lot of emotion. And they did that. There is a possibility here that Godot is, as I fear, not a good actress and she won't do well. But Snyder could still orchestrate in such a way that it can come across just fine, even without a good actress in the role.
But maybe this will be her breakout role, and people are like, okay, wow, she does have talent.
It's
actually,
possible.
They knew what they were looking for. Imagine that. Again, I like
blind
to play
faith
both
argument
sides.
again.
I love to play both sides, but when I first got the casting news as well, I was like, wait, what? And I know we're all pro Jamie Alexander. I was after seeing Lady Sif and all her other work, but then we had the panel with her, and I was like, wow, she is just the coolest, most talented chick around. So I was already pro about that, and we believe her as fighting and all of that. So initially I was a little disappointed. I can name 10 other actresses I had in mind first.
Yeah.
But I do have this faith. I do have this hope. I loved Man of Steel, and I do think they know what they're doing. So
yeah, and here's the argument. Here's the argument I would give to people who want to write off now Batman vs Superman because Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
My argument to that is go see the movie. Mm-hmm. Look, you're hearing me argue about why this is a bad decision, why this is a bad decision.
But you're still going to see it.
But it's still, you have to be open-minded enough to still acknowledge that the possibility exists that it could still work. You got to be willing to go and give it a shot. I'm going to go give it a shot. We're all going to go give it a shot. But you have to be willing to do that before passing judgment on it. Was it a bad decision? Yes. But can it still work? The answer is absolutely yes. It can still work, and you have to
live with it because I have lived with it. But I swear to God, the Dark Knight Rises, the third one.
Dark Knight Rises is the third, yeah.
I felt like Grandpa Simpson in the movie theater where the Dolby thing plays and he's like, turn it up, the THX thing, because I did not understand a damn word that Bane was saying, and I was so upset.
It's time for Gotham Circular.
I felt, what?
That was good.
I have no idea what you just said. I just was
I definitely, but if we pay attention to how Bale sounded in the beginning of the franchise, he got progressively more intense with his voice. So if he would have just kept it to the original modification,
I was fine with that.
I would have been okay with that. But I feel like he did get a lot more intense and way too black and white with it.
Maybe the fact that they would use a voice modulator would help us hear it instead of it just being a dude who's just being really gruff. Maybe that would work, because I actually don't approach. I don't watch Arrow, and I know I absolutely should based on what everybody here at AMC says. But maybe that would be better. Yeah. Maybe that would work out way better than just putting a mask over Tom Hardy's face and then asking him to just mumble. I swear to God, that whole year was just me watching Tom Hardy mumble, and he's a great mumbler.
A good mumbler.
But it's like Lawless and that movie.
I love Lawless. Don't you heard that one?
Good movie, but literally his lines were. It was just that, and I mean, it was good. He's a good mumbler.
Nick Nolte has made a career this way, so.
As a mumbler.
Yeah. All right.
All right. I have to go.
Everyone say bye to Gray.
Bye, everybody.
Us, Gray.
Yes. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for donating, and thank you to all of you guys for doing this.
Of course. And before you leave, where can people follow you?
Oh, yeah. I'm on Twitter at Graydrake, GraeDrake. Yay, she loves you back. And you can check out my interviews at rottentomatoes.com/videos.
Great. Thank you
Bye,
so
y'all.
much for coming.
Happy New Year.
I'll step back in a
I'm
second.
taking this Twilight cup with me.
Oh, wow. Shit's getting real. Okay, here we go.
What's next?
And then there were 2. All right, let's see. Jeffrey Haynes writes, "Greetings from Oklahoma. AMC Movie Talk, guys and gals, love you, love the show." We love you too. There's something that bugs me about just... Oh, do I still get the hot seat?
Oh, you still get the hot seat for now. Yeah, go ahead.
There's something that bugs me about just about every comic book film franchise. No closure or send-off. The Christopher Reeve Superman film series ended without closure and a crappy film. The Batman film series ended without closure and a crappy film. The Spider-Man film series ended without closure and a crappy film. I'm sensing a theme. Seems the closest we've gotten to closure and a decent film was The Dark Knight Rises. It has left a few threads dangling, though I can feel with the way they handled it. Are all current or immediately forthcoming comic book film franchises destined to make films until they suck, never providing a fully satisfying experience, or will they ever choose to end it on their own terms? Question mark. Do these characters even lend themselves to the concept, or am I way off? Thank you for all you do, and bring on the filthy.
Well, I mean, you got to keep in mind the genre, right? I mean, okay, look, standard Hollywood fare, romantic comedy. Boy meets girl, boy falls for girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back. Okay, so there's your formula, and there's your closure and all that kind of stuff.
Girl rises above.
Yeah. Or if you look at a political thriller, average man discovers conspiracy, gets in over his head, triumphs at the end, wrap up, right? With comic book films, it's a little bit different because comic books, they have no ending. X-Men doesn't end. Mm-hmm. Spider-Man doesn't end. Mm-hmm. Superman doesn't end. And so whenever you're approaching a comic book film and comic book characters like this, you're approaching it like the comic books. You're approaching where we want this series to continue to run. You think franchise. And so you want to keep going as long as you can. I think it would be foolish.
Until the money runs out.
Yeah, until the money runs out. But honestly, I think it would have been foolish for, say, when they made Spider-Man 3, as bad as that movie was, the Spider-Man franchise at the time was riding high. It would have been foolish on their part to write Spider-Man 3 as the end. Mm-hmm. It would have been foolish. Fans wouldn't have wanted that. The studio wouldn't have wanted that. Because it's a different type. The genre is just so different and unique from other genres and types. And so I think it behooves studios to move forward with their franchises and leave them as open-ended as possible. I think that's just the way you got to do it until the money runs out or until they prove that they've choked.
And especially with a studio like Sony, where their only comic book franchise is Spider-Man, they're going to keep making that. And I'm so happy to see them expanding the villain universe and, introducing all these other characters in Sinister Six and all that. I think that's the way to go. And I would like to see more properties do that. And, Superman's not going to end. Well, if he does end, I want it to be with Doomsday. I want it done right.
Right.
But these films are just going to keep going and going. And I agree. I mean, I really liked Spider-Man Raimi's 1 and 2. The third, that emo scene, oh my goodness, when he's dancing.
One of the greatest cinematic moments in the history of Hollywood. Emo Peter Parker.
It was so bad. My jaw was dropped. I was like, is this happening? Raimi, you're better than that. So I agree. But Dark Knight Rises, you bring up an interesting point because I think a lot of people were very split on that. I personally really liked the film. It was definitely the weakest of the trilogy, no question. And they did have, a couple continuity things that didn't match up, just like literally visually. Like he goes in and it's light and then it's dark and it's only supposed to be 10 minutes and weird things like that we dissected.
Right.
But overall, I just love Nolan's Gotham, and I still thought it was above average film. So to me, that was, and I know you agree, Jeffrey, that was really good, but they do have a tendency for the third film to be the weakest, and then they reboot it, and it still makes a lot of money. So
well, and that Batman franchise, it was designed to be the end.
Yeah.
Like that's the exception to all this, because Nolan said, I'm making 3 films, this is going to be a self-contained story, and I'm going to end it, which is one of the reasons why I always said from the beginning, you're never going to see the Christopher Nolan, Christian Bale Batman in the expanded DC cinematic universe, because Nolan's universe was self-contained. He wanted it that way. He designed it to be that way. And as much as I wasn't a huge fan of Dark Knight Rises, it was a pretty definitive end.
It
Yeah,
was.
that's the thing too. Is
Yeah.
I like that ending. Is the ending have to involve a death or something? Like, how much closure do we need? I mean, it's a little bit ambiguous, but at the same time, I'm not offended by that because to
I
me,
didn't even find it all that ambiguous. I thought it was like, this is the end.
I guess it doesn't.
It's in
You know,
with the end
how
with
much do we need
Alfred.
to be?
Alfred, and he's like, is that really him? You know, is that really Bruce Wayne?
But it
with
really
I
was.
loved
It was
that.
Smile?
I
A lot of
loved
people
that.
were questioning that if it was true. Kind
Oh,
of
then
like
those people is stupid.
kind of like Deception, same thing, you
Right.
know. So
You mean Inception?
Inception,
Yeah.
Inception, kind of the same thing, where it kind of you go your own way, and some people find that a cop out, and some actually find it artistic. I like it personally, so.
I like it too.
I thought it was pretty definitive. I thought
so.
he ended it well, and I thought it was a good ending. In this, I hated the fact that he hands off the mantle of the bat to some cop he's known for 10 minutes who can't even fight more than one guy at a time. You're the new Batman. Okay, I hated that. But the fact that he faked his own death, he retired off to Europe the way that Alfred always envisioned, that he said earlier in the film, that he envisioned and dreamed that he would walk away from that life. And Alfred said, I just dreamed of seeing some cafe in Europe, you know, living your life and being happy. And that's what he did. And I thought that was a really nice way to end it, even though I wasn't an overall big, thrilling fan of the film as a whole.
All right, let's keep it going. Okay, Jesse Schrader writes, do you think Days of Future Past will address the issue of a cure for their mutations, which was the front runner for X-Men 3, or will they forget that movie ever existed?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to forget the movie ever existed, but I do think they're going to ignore that plot line. I think
so.
I think they're going to focus on the war.
Yeah.
I think there's a war. And we obviously know they're going to focus on the Sentinels. We
The
obviously know
assassination.
the assassination.
Which is a really cool element,
I think Trask is going to play. I think Trask is going to play a bigger role in this film.
Peter Dinklage
That
for the win.
Dinklage is going to play a bigger role in this film than I think a lot of us are thinking he's going to. I actually think we're in for a lot of surprises with this film. But no, I don't think the cure is going to be the impetus of this film. I think the crux of it is really going to be the war and the Sentinels and what all that entails, and the old Xavier, the new Xavier. I'm really looking forward to this movie.
I am too. I think they have a great opportunity to correct some things that were wronged in X-Men 3. And I really think that they're going to approach it with editing kind of the timelines and certain things that were featured in that movie that a lot of fans did not enjoy seeing on the big screen. And I think it's a great chance for them to do so, especially when you involve time travel. It's ideal. Let's just go back and pretend like X-Men 3 never happened. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, and I mean, First Class, no question, was my favorite X-Men film. I thought it was fantastic.
The best one that's happened since, in my opinion.
Good. The tone, everything. And I did really like the first and second films of before Ratner took over. Oh, dear. But I don't even really credit that last film. The third film was just kind of embarrassing as a diehard X-Men fan like I am. So I'm really like them to just kind of pretend like that didn't happen. And as you said, an opportunity. I mean, all the elements are in place. We have the top of the line actors in this one, returning of some of our favorite characters like the older Magneto.
Who have now been playing these roles for the better part of 13 years.
What good roles to play.
You know what I think would be great to see? And I don't think this will happen. There's no evidence that it will. But something amazing that I think they could surprise us all with, bring Cyclops back.
Bring
him back!
I think he'll be.
I think
Bring
they
him
will.
back!
I don't
I think
think.
he'll be in there.
I don't think we're going to see that in Days of Future Past. I got a very strong feeling we're going to see it in Apocalypse.
Yeah.
I cannot
Which
wait.
which is the greatest movie now. That's aside
good.
from
Age of
Transformers, because I played a lot with my Transformers as a kid. And aside from announcing a new Star Wars movie, which ended up being Phantom Menace, but I was really looking forward to Transformers, and the other one that I've always wanted them to do was Apocalypse, particularly since Age of Apocalypse is my favorite individual storyline in any comic book series
amazing.
ever. And they've done that. I am giddy that they're doing this, and we'll see what happens with that giddiness after I see Days of Future Past.
I really think that this is his redemption. I mean, Bryan Singer put so much love into the franchise initially, and that those films, even if some people discredit even the first two, which I think is a mistake because I thought they were solid, did so much for the superhero genre. We can't discredit that.
It single-handedly resurrected the
It
superhero
really
genre.
did. So this is his comeback because Ratner killed the third one.
Yeah.
And, Matthew Vaughn obviously did First Class, and I just think that this film is going to be fantastic. But I'm trying to keep my expectations here because they are kind of through the moon right now.
See, and I'm a little bit different from you guys. To me, it's At the top of the X-Men food chain is X-Men 2, X-Men 1, then X-Men Days of Future, X-Men First Class.
And First Class, then.
And then way down here is X-Men 3.
That's not even on my list.
It's in there somewhere. Even X-Men 3, we're getting way off on a tangent here.
X-Men all day, every day.
Even X-Men 3, once again, I put it way down here. I thought X-Men 3 had some redeemable qualities. Some of the action sequences were quite good. I mean, that fight, once Magneto brought all of his guys over and that fight that ensued and the X-Men showed up, that was a really cool fight. Kelsey Grammer as Beast, I think was inspired. I think that was inspired casting. I thought he did he brought a Beast to the screen that I always kind of pictured in my head. Like the very intellectual, yet when he unleashed the ferociousness of it, I thought it was really cool. But overall, it's a pretty piss poor movie.
Nicholas Hoult as Beast too. It's pretty solid.
Yeah.
I love him.
I liked him too.
All right, let's keep going. All right. Brandon Martin writes, I think I've tried about 1 million times to get this question answered. Well, you're in luck. When talking of great directors, everyone mentions the usual names. Hitchcock, Kubrick, Scorsese, Spielberg, which of course are names I can't argue with. But I want to know, why does no one ever mention Robert Zemeckis? I don't think there's a single film of his that I don't love, and I consider him to be my favorite director. With the great movies he has directed, why is his name ever brought up? Well, there you go, Brandon. Here's your question.
Brandon, have you seen Flight? I didn't like that movie.
I hated Flight.
Great beginning. Really promising first 15 minutes. After that, lost a little steam. I do like Zemeckis and his body of work, but I like his older work a lot more than his modern day current work.
Completely agree.
Yeah, I thought Flight was a mess of a film.
It was.
Everybody was so wanting to jump up and down and praise the film from here to high heaven. A lot of people did. So many people a lot of the critics, my colleagues, people I respect, raving about that film. I came out and I thought this was a terrible movie.
Yeah.
Just a terrible movie that treated the audience like they were a bunch of idiots. They had no sense of a narrative flow to it whatsoever. It's like watching a scene, I get it. This scene is Denzel Washington portraying to us that he has a real alcohol problem and it's ruining his life. Then the next scene is, I get it. This scene is about portraying how Denzel Washington has a real alcohol problem and it's ruining his life. And then the next scene. This scene is about Denzel Washington having a real alcohol problem, and then again and again and again and again. It's like, okay, I get it. I get it. Juxtapose that against Rush. All right? Mm-hmm. Rush with Chris Hemsworth, right? They needed to set up a scene where, Chris Hemsworth exhibits the fact that he has got a serious alcohol problem, some narcotics problem, and it causes a rift in his marriage and his wife leaves. They did it in a 14-second shot. Now, did it have the same impact as a 45-minute long thing of Denzel Washington doing it over and over and over and over again? No, but it was effective. In 14 seconds, without any dialogue, they communicated to me, the audience member, hey, Chris Hemsworth's character, I forget his first name, but Hunt was the character's last name. He's developing an alcohol problem, depression because of what this happened, blah, blah, and it's driving a rift between him and his wife, and his wife leaves him. 14 seconds. And it did it effectively, communicate, and I thought it was... One Zemeckis film I really like that nobody talks about is Beowulf.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah.
I really liked Beowulf.
I liked it.
I thought it was really cute. And that's the thing. Zemeckis got off on this tangent of wanting to do all these kind of creepy-looking animated films that some people really love and celebrate, and for good reason, because a couple of them are really good. Mm-hmm. But I think it got him away from filmmaking from a traditional point of view. And I don't know, but...
He has respect, though. People do respect.
And I think he has a very overall strong body of work.
Yeah, he does. Overall. That's been plummeting a little bit, but he still has talent. And I can see why some people did like Flight. It just missed for me. I really wanted to love it, especially Denzel. I mean...
I liked his performance.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, he's Denzel.
He's great.
I mean, he's going to be great no matter what. But, even Spielberg, I say this all the time, even Spielberg had a bad day at the office. Yeah. Like Steven Spielberg, who I contend I believe is the greatest filmmaker to ever live, he made The Terminal. With Tom Hanks.
I did not think that film was awful.
I thought it was
I didn't
awful.
either. I didn't hate it.
Really
I didn't hate it.
I thought that Tom Hanks, because he's Tom Hanks and he's the most phenomenal actor, to literally make us be still captivated by being stuck in a freaking terminal and all the little adventures he has. And I thought it was actually pretty charming. Did I love it? No, but I thought it was pretty charming.
Oh, okay.
You too?
I thought it was entertaining,
Woo!
yes.
All right, what's next?
All right, going on. All right, Ralim Samaj, sorry if I ruined your name, if I botched it up. if Sony owns the movie rights to Spider-Man and all of its peripheral characters, so does that mean they also own the rights to Cloak and Dagger? Or Cloak and Dagger were recategorized as mutants later on, so does that mean they fall under Paramount? Or does Cloak and Dagger still belong to Marvel?
It's never as easy as a formula. Like, you can never just say, oh, these guys in comic books are mutants, therefore they must belong to X-Men. There's some truth in that, but you got to remember, when they drop these contracts, they're never ambiguous contracts. So when Marvel sold the rights to Spider-Man and his pantheon of characters, it wasn't just Spider-Man and his characters.
Yeah.
It was Spider-Man, including but not limited to Black Cat, Venom, Carnage, Dr. Octopus, blah, and you'll find pages and pages and pages of all the characters. So really it comes down to, did they include Cloak and Dagger in that? I don't have an answer to that. I suspect maybe they do, but I don't have a definitive answer to that, other than we probably shouldn't assume one way or the other. It may be in there, it may not be. We'd have to ask Sony. All right.
Amen. Ditto.
Yeah, it is very interesting how, some X-Men belong over here and some are over here, and like, it doesn't all just go to Fox because they're X-Men. And like, I do think it is rather fascinating, the whole rights dispute. And Marvel was very, very clever in writing the stipulation of, if you don't make this film by this amount of time, it resorts back to us. So yeah, we don't have the answer to that. But
and remember, and some people want to say, oh, okay, so Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver belong both to Fox and to Marvel, because in the comics they were in X-Men and X.
Yeah.
It's like no. They belong to both Fox and Marvel because that's the way it was written in their contract between Fox and Marvel when they made the deal. Not because because a lot of people have written to us over the past couple of months since it was announced that Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch were going to be in both universes, saying, oh, well, then that means that Beast, who was an auxiliary member of Avengers for a while, Beast now also belongs to... No, because that's not the way their contract was drawn up. Quicksilver, Silver, and Scarlet Witch belong to Fox and Marvel because that is how Fox and Marvel wrote up the contract.
Exactly. All right, moving on. Gabriel Rojas writes, greetings, sons and daughter of AMC. Love the show. I've been watching you guys for over a year now and have always looked forward to hearing your opinions on movie news. Thank you so much. Anyways, I know this is a very difficult question to ask, but what are your top 20 movies of all time? Thanks and keep up the good work.
Okay.
That is difficult.
Yeah, I'm so unprepared to answer that.
You can throw in a couple things.
I know. I would need to sit down.
Somebody asked me earlier when we were in the opening hours of the marathon. We're now into the 5th hour. Asking me, what are your top 10 sci-fi films of all time? And I said, well, here's the thing. We can't on the spur of the moment answer these. No. What's your top 10? What's your top 20? That takes some thought. Now, for the sci-fi one, I said, I can tell you the top 3. Number 3, Star Wars A New Hope. Number 2, Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. Number 1, Star Wars Return of the Jedi. I can tell you that. But outside of that, what I said about the sci-fi question is, said maybe in February I'll put together an editorial video, my top 10 sci-fi films of all time. Putting together a list of the top 20 films of all time is something we really need to sit down and mull over. I mean, just our top 20 of 2013. I spent 5 hours on the plane last night putting that list together. And you really want to do it right and put it together so it really reflects what you think. And I don't think it's one we can say off the top of our heads. I can tell you this. In my top 10 are films like, in no particular order, the Lord of the Rings franchise, the Star Wars franchise, the original Spartacus, Lawrence of Arabia, Shawshank Redemption, the original Highlander. A lot of people get surprised when I say that, but the original Highlander. And certain films like that, I can tell you those are my top 10, but to actually give you a list, can't do it off the top of my head.
And then there's like the question of favorite trilogies of all time, and like I really do divide it by genre. I think that's safer because it's hard to compare apples to apples. It's not that way with film. And
how do you compare the Toy Story trilogy to the Godfather trilogy?
You don't.
Yeah,
but
very,
I definitely
very, very
share.
different.
I mean, Lord of the Rings is one of my favorite ever. Star Wars ever. Usual Suspects. Shawshank Redemption.
Oh yeah, Usual Suspects is another one of my top 10.
Network is one of my favorites.
With John Hurt.
Ever. I love that.
Or William
movie.
Hurt. I mean.
And Faye Dunaway. Gorgeous babe. There's so many amazing. Goodfellas is one of my favorites. Pulp Fiction is one of my favorites. There's so many, but I would definitely have to make a list because just, spur of the moment, it's really hard for us to do that, but
Yeah.
I have a long list. I'd probably do top 100, top 100.
Yeah, that'd be hard. I feel like Star Wars is on mine. Anything Darren Aronofsky's done is always on my list.
No question.
Wizard of Oz, one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah.
Love that movie. Actually, I love a lot of Judy Garland movies a lot.
I
But
just watched Meeting in
I don't
St.
know.
Louis.
That's one of my favorite Christmas movies to watch because it has my favorite Christmas song and my favorite version.
Which one?
Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. Performed by Judy Garland,
She
of
was
course.
such a babe.
Do you know
That's
did
She
you,
was.
do you know that
And
she
such
was
a slut.
22?
No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I'm totally joking.
Hour
no
five.
hate mail.
Oh my god.
I'm just kidding. It was a joke.
So funny. Yeah, she was 22 at the time of that movie. I
Do you know
learned that.
That's the movie that my family and I watch every Christmas. Like, we watch a lot of other
I watch it with
more
my mom,
recent
too.
Academy films, but that's the one that like makes me think of my family.
My mom
Love
gets
it.
us to watch the Alistair, the Three Ghosts of Christmas, A Christmas Carol.
Oh yeah.
Which version though? Because there's so
Alistair,
many.
yeah.
Scrooge.
Oh,
Yeah.
that one. I like the Muppets version a lot. Yes. There's some good songs in that.
Yes.
All right. I don't even remember what we were talking about. Let's keep going.
Top 20 films of all time. Let's go on to the
yes.
next one.
All right. Beautiful Steve writes, "You're beautiful, Steve. Greetings and salutations, sons and daughter of AMC. With the current lull in sword and sorcery movies, sans The Hobbit, and a wealth of in-game background, history, and lore, is it time for an Elder Scrolls movie? And could it work? Thanks and keep up the good work."
Elder Scrolls is not as popular as a lot of other. Like,
But it's
for
so
instance-
cool.
It is so cool. I've been playing Elder Scrolls since Daggerfall.
I love it so much.
And Daggerfall was the first game to me that really had a truly expansive world that you could just run around in. I could run west for hours and come into new towns. It's an interesting thing. Look, it's all going to be based on what happens with World of Warcraft. It's all going to be about what happens with World of Warcraft. If World of Warcraft comes out and is really good, and look, they've got a hell of a cast in place, and more importantly, they've got a great director in place. If World of Warcraft lives up to its potential, I think we will see a renaissance of sword and sorcery films. I don't really categorize the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit stuff as sword and sorcery, really, in a lot of ways.
Other than Gandalf being a wizard.
Yeah, other than Gandalf being a wizard.
I think
but
World
I
of
mean, there's an
Warcraft's gonna
argument.
be amazing. I really
I
do.
hope
I'm excited
so.
for that.
Duncan Jones at the helm. He's not made a film that I have not loved to date. Well, Source Code not as much as Moon.
But I
was
liked
like-
it, and it was a very ambitious
I still
film.
liked it, but Moon is like on my top favorite sci-fi films of all time. It's
Right.
like that high, and Sam Rockwell. But I would love to see that. I just think having that cast, which is, other than Paula Patton, they're all very, very interesting choices, especially Ben Foster. I think he's one of the best actors out there right
Oh,
now.
absolutely. I think I've said, earlier in the show, I talked about how Chiwetel Ejiofor, I've been proclaiming for 7 years, the most underrated actor in there. Right behind him, either in the number 2 or number 3 spot, I've said forever, one of the most underrated actors in all of Hollywood is Ben Foster.
Yeah, he's so good.
He was in a movie with Christian Bale and Russell Crowe and stole it from both of them in 3:10 to Yuma.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he stole that movie
He
from
can do
both of
anything.
them.
He
He's
can be
incredible.
creepy, he can be great, he can be charming. I love him. So yeah, he's a really good one.
A property that's not really talked about that I think would be an amazing, I guess, movie that would kind of fit into this category, but I don't know if you would technically put it into like the sorcery thing, is The Witcher. You guys familiar with that video game franchise?
No, I'm not.
Recently released The Witcher 3, which is, I think it would be an amazing movie. It follows a guy who basically hunts witches, and it's pretty awesome,
Love me a good witch killing.
right?
Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunter 3. Got it.
Oh god.
Oh, and one other thing I want to mention that was interesting, but I said how I think it's all going to depend on how World of Warcraft does. If World of Warcraft is successful and good, I think it could open the floodgates. Very interesting thing, though. I remember when Lord of the Rings came out and hit, a lot of us were saying the same thing, that there hasn't been a lot of these lore fantasy films when Lord of the Rings came out. Actually, almost none. And a lot of us thought when Lord of the Rings comes out, if these things succeed really well, this could open up the floodgates. But an interesting thing happened. The reverse actually happened. Whereas a lot of us thought after Lord of the Rings, a lot of studios would put out a lot of sword and sorcery kind of stuff and fantasy, wizardry, and all that kind of stuff. But it didn't happen. It had the reverse effect. The studios were suddenly really scared of either being compared to Lord of the Rings or accused of being rip-off
Or
of Lord
Harry
of the
Potter.
Rings. Or Harry Potter, which is a very different kind
Different,
of...
but still
right.
sorcery and wizards.
Yeah.
And
It almost plugged it up instead of opening up the floodgates. I don't think we're in the same danger with World of Warcraft because it's not as a an honored, time-tested, revered story like Lord of the Rings was. I think if World of Warcraft is good, we're going to see a lot more of these types of films.
Yeah, and the games are the game's
still to this day super successful and popular.
Has a huge built-in franchise anyway.
An asterisk, I misspoke. In The Witcher, it's about a guy who hunts people who hurts witches.
Sorry
about that.
Very different.
Correction. Very different.
All right. Chris Diaz writes, hey, I was wondering, what are your thoughts on Anchorman 2, since you said you would say something about it since the spoiler chat review was deleted?
Yeah, we did an AMC spoilers for Anchorman 2, and I realized afterward, 3 days later when I was going to post it, I realized that the audio didn't record.
Oh.
So we didn't end up posting it. I loved it. Now, if you go back and watch Segment 2, AMC Movie Talk 24-Hour Marathon Segment 2, we did our top 20 films of the year, and actually I have Anchorman 2 in my top 20.
Wow.
Is my second favorite comedy of the year. I thought it was not quite as good as the first Anchorman, but I laughed from start to finish. I thought it was really funny. I had it just behind This Is the End for my best comedy of the year, and just barely ahead of We're the Millers.
I really liked Anchorman 2 as well, and I don't understand the knocks. Like, you literally have everything you want. You have the news team. You have Will Ferrell doing the best character, in my humble opinion, of his career, at least in the top 3. And it's great. The costumes are great. A lot of more one-liners. The improv is hilarious. I just thought the story was fun. Some of the outtakes, him with the baby shark. What? Like, there's so many ridiculous things about it that I absolutely love. So it gave me everything I wanted and more. And I thought it was a really solid comedy.
Did you see Anchorman 2 yet?
I haven't seen it yet.
I will say this, so a quick side note, my favorite Will Ferrell character and movie is still to this day Step Brothers. There's something very special to me about Step Brothers.
It's a good one.
So many activities. Okay.
Yeah, we did an editorial at IGN when I was there, like, the best Will Ferrell characters, and it makes you just realize, like, especially earlier on in his career, like, he's had a couple duds recently, but he's had some amazing characters. So, love the man. All right. Let's see. Michael Vike writes, hey, I will use my question for the benefit of everyone who wants to know. How sweet. I've been watching AMC Movie Talk since day one, but I have never had one of my questions answered that I know of. Well, here's your chance, Michael. How is a person to know if they get their question picked if they aren't able to tune in every day? Is there some kind of confirmation sent back? Do you have any tips to getting a question picked? John's laughing.
Okay, so here's how it works. Yeah, we do take questions, but I sometimes get angry emails from people saying, like, who take it very personally. Why do you keep rejecting my questions? We never reject questions. That's not true. We sometimes reject questions, but you have to understand, in a typical week on AMC Movie Talk, we ask, generally speaking, sometimes one or two more, sometimes one or two less. We ask 2 mailbag questions. We have time for 2 mailbag questions on AMC Movie Talk. That means in a week on AMC Movie Talk, we can answer 10 mailbag questions. 10. Now, then Saturday and Sunday, we do mailbag, and we ask 6 mailbag questions on each. So that's 12 more. In total, that is 22 mailbag questions that we are able to answer. In that week, we get over 1,000 email questions. We get over 1,000 and only have time to answer 22. That means when you send in a question, it is the highest of probabilities that your question won't get asked. There's nothing really we can do about that except to say, hey, send in your questions and we'll have somebody take a look at it and maybe it'll get passed on. And sometimes questions don't get picked because they're not good questions. Sometimes they don't get picked because we just answered the same question. Sometimes they don't get picked because, it'll be about, here's an example, maybe some really obscure anime. What would you think about Hashiko 5 being turned into a live action movie? Well, I've never seen Hashiko 5, and I'm pretty sure 99% of the people watching the show have never heard of it, so it really wouldn't be of benefit to the viewers as a whole to answer that question. So, but the majority of the time, it's good questions, but we just can't get to them because we have over 1,000 others that are also good that we have to get around to. So please never take offense that happens. Now, as far as, is there some kind of notification system? Oh, heavens no. Look, here's a rundown about how a daily AMC, you're getting a look behind the curtain here a little bit about how AMC Movie Talk works. Every morning, I get up at 5 and I find the news stories that we're going to pick for the day. And then once those news stories are selected, I start writing them up and putting in all the information that we need into them. Once that starts happening, I start coordinating with Dennis about graphics and things like that have to start getting put together, start pulling together all the other auxiliary media. Then I start looking into what am I going to say about these topics when it comes time on the show for us to give our individual input. Then those show notes that get written up gets emailed out to Aaron and Amy Rose, so they can start looking at these things. Then the tech sheet has to be put together and mailed out to the studio, so the tech guys at the studio can start getting a run of show put together. And then we go live at 10:30 in the morning. So from when I wake up at 5 a.m. to when we go live is a 5.5 hour window that all of this has to happen. And we just simply don't have time in the day to follow up with everybody and say, hey, sorry, we can't answer your question. Or, hey, just so you know, your question is going to be on AMC Movie Talk today. We just don't have time to do it. It sounds great. Ideally, it's great, but we don't have the staff or manpower to look after little details like that. So hopefully you're watching. But here's a good rule of thumb. If you've sent in a question and it doesn't get answered within a week, then it's probably safe to say it's not going to be answered. But if you send in a question, watch for the next couple of days and see if your question gets answered. It may not, but that is the best we can do at this point because we only have a tiny amount of time and so many guys sending questions.
And it looked like... It looked like...
Just click on the bottom gray area. Yeah, click it. Now let's try switching.
There we go. So I just read some of the comments, guys, and it looked like it froze for a second. So we really appreciate your patience and your love and your support. And sorry about that, YouTube.
YouTube is out of our control.
Our control.
If YouTube has issues, that's out of our control.
But thank you for your patience. And once again, I want to draw attention to why we're doing this, the 24-hour movie-thon. We're raising money for the Philippines disaster. And that link is right there, if you can see it right there. Crowdrise.com, AMC Movie News Philippines. As you know, we're going to read your question in our mailbag portion. If you donate, we guarantee it. So we really appreciate your support again, and much love to all.
We've reached the end of the segment too.
We've reached the end.
Tell you what, let me switch seats with you, and we'll sign out. This is a very informal way we're doing things here, guys.
Okay.
There we go. Musical chairs. Fire, what do they call it? Chinese fire drill when you hop out of one car and go into the and we'll readjust the camera for not hobbit height. There we go.
Oh, you know what?
Is that getting old? I'm sorry. Okay, so as Amy Rose was just pointing out so eloquently, we are doing this specifically to raise money for the Philippines. And if you guys are enjoying the 24-hour movie marathon, we're now heading into our 6th hour. Please consider making a donation because it goes to a really, really good cause. Look, if we can donate money on a Kickstarter to help millionaires make movies so they can become bigger millionaires, maybe we can kick in a little bit of money to help some people who really, really need it. Head on over to www.crowdrise.com/AMC Movie News Philippines. There you'll see a big red donate now button. Click that and make your donation. And if you want, when it gives you the option to put in a comment for your donation, put in a question there and we will get to it sometime in the next 24 hours. Now, as we expressed earlier in the show, what we cannot do, YouTube does not allow us to stream for 24 hours straight. That makes sense. I understand why they do that. So we are doing this in sections and in chunks. So we're about to take a 5 to 15 minute break here. We'll keep it as short as we can. So we will reset and then start the stream again in about 10 minutes. We're going to start the stream again. And when we come back, what are we talking about when we come back?
We're doing our most anticipated films of 2014.
So we're looking forward to the films of 2014.
Yeah.
In our next segment here, which will be starting in about 10 minutes.
And there are a lot of them.
And there are a lot of them. So listen, just go to our main YouTube page at youtube.com/AMC Theaters or follow me here at my Twitter, just at John Campia. I will tweet out the exact URL to come back and start watching the live stream again. Either way, you'll be good. Just go to the main page or watch on the live stream. Either way, you're totally set and it'll be totally good. So we will be back in just a few minutes. We're going to reset and... we'll be back. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. Make sure you go and donate to the URL right now. Thanks again for joining us. We'll be back in a few minutes, and we will see you then.